9 series wins in a row. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Wednesday, May 7th, 2025. This is Tiny Gonzalez and Colby Patnode for the Locked On Mariners post-game show, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, if you want to hear from me and Colby even more and help support the show, you can check out our Patreon. All you have to do to check that out is click the link in the description of this episode. Mariners storm back down 5-0 to stun the A's 6-5 this afternoon. They have now won 9 series in a row. They overcome Brian Wu getting jumped on. All 6 runs are driven in by the bottom half of the lineup. Even the new guy, Leody Taveras, has one of the biggest hits of the game. Colby, this felt like a game that the Mariners just had absolutely no business winning whatsoever, but they did. And that's what good teams do, right?
It really felt very similar to yesterday's game where you're just sitting there like, you know, it's the opposing pitcher is not that sharp, and you're like, man, we really should be jumping on this guy, but we're just not. And we've seen this so many times in the past. We even saw it earlier in the road trip against like Patrick Corbin. So you're just kind of sitting there like, man, like they're just not getting anything done. And then today, much like happened in game 1, your starting pitcher wasn't very good. And you're just playing behind the 8 ball pretty much the entire game. And, you know, give credit to Brian Wu after the first inning. He pitched pretty well, all things considered. But yeah, it was just one of those games where the offense was just grinding out these at-bats, and they were able to get Hoagland out of the game early enough. And the A's bullpen, which is in worse condition than you, as they just wrapped up their 16th game in 16 days, you were able to take advantage of that. And the schedule did you a bit of a favor here. Because obviously Mason Miller had been used pretty heavily, and the long games the last 2 nights definitely weighed in here as well. And your bullpen was just a little bit better and healthier and more available than Oakland's was. And you took advantage of that. And that is a credit to you, not letting Severino go 7 innings on you, not letting Hoagland go 7 innings, not letting Jeffrey Springs go 6 innings. Like your ability to get those starters out of the game and make Oakland use the A's, use their leverage arms often after being on, playing for 2+ weeks in a row. Like those things come to fruition late in games, and they did again today, and they did yesterday. Right. And so you have to give the Mariners a ton of credit for doing that and grinding through it. And it's really bad to watch for like 7 innings. It's not fun baseball to watch for 7 innings, and you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself to be like great against typically, the best stuff on the opposing team's pitching staff when you kind of inadvertently play that game. But the Mariners have done that for the last 2 days. They've really done it for the last month or so. And it's yet another series where the Mariners drop game 1, usually in an annoying fashion, or something bad happens in game 1 and the vibes are down immediately. And then they come back and they find a way to win the next 2. Even if they don't get the plus pitching, even if they don't get the clutch hits, they'd find a way to win series. And right now that's 9 in a row. They are, I believe, maybe I'm mistaken here, but I believe they're like 13-5 or something like that against the division. Like they've played a lot of division games and they've handled them. Like they have a winning record against everybody in the division right now.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is, they go 4-2 on this interdivisional road trip. They now have a winning record against all the teams in the division. That's huge, right? And there's still a lot of games to play against all of their division rivals, but that's a fantastic start, especially because, has the tiebreaker ever come into the conversation over the last couple of years when talking about the Mariners and potentially making the playoffs?
I mean, the Mariners usually have their season pretty well wrapped up by game 150, 152, right? Like,
yeah, totally.
Nothing ever goes into the last series of the year with this team. So,
right. So it's definitely a relevant conversation to have, but that's super far down the line. We're getting way too ahead of ourselves, but it's a great start though.
Sure. I mean, you only get 13 games against these division opponents. And if Oakland is going to be annoyingly competitive all year, getting to 7 wins against them before they do against you could be huge. And then getting that lead on Texas could be huge. And in Houston as well. So yeah, it's definitely not something that we should be focusing on a great deal right now, but it is something that there are bonuses to these wins aside from just stacking wins on top of each other, which we've talked about. The Mariners are going to need to do because I'm pretty sure the offense isn't going to score 5-6 runs every night. Eventually, I think, like probably not. But
I mean,
we didn't think
we've been waiting for it to stop, and we thought, maybe after those last 2 games in Texas, that was the beginning of it. But then,
right, and but even in this series against the A's, like I think innings 3 through 8 yesterday were terrible. Innings 1 through 6, 5, and whatever today were terrible.
Yeah, they scored their first run in the 5th today.
Yeah, and so for 11 of the last. For like 13 of the last 16 innings, the offense has been unwatchably bad, and they scored 11 runs the last 2 days. So, yeah, sure. I mean, cool. Like, why not? But
had 11 hits today. Only struck out 7 times.
Mm-hmm.
Walked 3 times. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
4 extra base hits. That's a big one.
Yeah. 4 for 10 with runners in scoring position.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's a fun box score to look at too. By the way,
every starter
today contributed.
Yeah, every starter had a hit.
Mm-hmm.
The only guy who took it in bat for the Mariners in this game, who didn't have a hit, was Mastroboni, who pinch ran for Rosarena. So he only got 1 AB, but he stole base and scored
the Gametime run.
Yeah. You talked about the bullpen being situated well, and I'd be remiss not to mention, at the very least, I mean, it wasn't a good day for Brian Wu, but he was able to go 6, right? And you only had to throw 3 relievers in this game, whereas the A's had to throw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And yesterday, Emerson Hancock going 6, and he could have gone even deeper into that game. Now they still had to throw Carlos Vargas in that game last night. By the way, we should absolutely give props to.
Yes.
After throwing 34 pitches in the opening game of this series, gets his first career save. But still, like Hancock going 6 yesterday, Wu going 6 today, huge for situating your bullpen compared to what the A's had to do over the last 2 games. And then the big one as well here is they were able to score in the 8th.
Yeah.
Before they had to face Mason Miller. They get the game tying and game winning hits in the 8th inning, and that eliminates Miller from the equation. It's the same thing that happened during the season opening game when Randy hit that home run and Polanco hit his, right? That eliminated Mason Miller from the equation in a game that you thought, I mean, you were very close to facing him and probably losing that game as soon as he steps out onto the field. So yeah. And we talked about yesterday, like Miller's control is not where it needs to be right now. He had the most disastrous outing of his entire career, his second to last time out in Miami. So you were catching him at not a good time still, because it's still Mason Miller, but the best possible time. But still, you don't want to face that guy if you don't have to. And so getting those 2 runs in the 8th inning, I mean, that was most likely your last shot to win there. And they did it. And again, big part of this is the bottom half of the lineup once again. And that includes the new guy, Leody Taveras. Talk about him, talk about the rest of the bottom half of the lineup in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by Wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack for busy days. Whether I'm snacking at my desk or on a road trip or just need a quick protein boost, they're always my go-to. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. Get snackin' and get crackin' with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners postgame show following the Mariners come from behind 6-5 win over the A's today. Mariners continue to give us some really good games to talk about on these postgame shows. 6 through 9 today, drove in all 6 of the Mariners runs. Rowdy Tellez with the 3-run home run that kind of allowed the thought of them being able to win this game creep back into your mind. Leody Taveras in his first game as a Mariner ties things up on a CNI single past the third baseman. We'll talk more tomorrow about his acquisition, but awesome to see him being able to contribute right out of the gate. Dylan Moore with 2 hits today, including the game-winning RBI double in the right center field. Ben Williamson had the icebreaker for the Mariners in this one. RBI double over the outstretched glove of Seth Brown. This is the reason that this offense is as productive as it's been. It's kind of just how this whole team is operating right now. When one aspect of the team scuffles, another aspect of it is picking it up. Today it was Brian Wu, and the offense was able to pick up Brian Wu. And the bottom of the lineup led things today. And again, when you're not necessarily getting those, the production that you want out of your stars like Julio and JP and Cal, you're getting contributions, big time contributions out of Rowdy Tellez and Dylan Moore and Ben Williamson and those guys. And those guys just continue to come through again and again and again.
It's interesting today, the top of the lineup or the middle of the lineup really kind of set the table for the back end of the lineup to knock them in. So, it is one of those things where this lineup, when it is fully functioning, it puts a lot of pressure on you 1 through 9, and every hitter is a little bit different in terms of how you have to pitch to them, but also how they can contribute, what they can do to contribute. The common theme, throughout the lineup is that everybody here is willing to take a walk. Yeah. So that obviously helps with your on base percentage and also driving up pitch counts and stuff like that. But there's some speed here. There's some, slashing going on here. There's a little bit of, bat control in the lineup, and it just, every stage of the lineup, there is a new challenge that is presented. Whereas in the past couple of years, a lot of the lineup was pretty much the same, right? They're going to swing and miss. They're going to strike out. They're going to hit some home runs. Like everybody kind of followed, and it was like JP was the outlier because he was the one guy who would work counts and, kind of try and hit the ball in the gaps and all that stuff. And even JP tried to be a big time power guy, and it worked for 1 year. But now there's just kind of this different, like, guys are willing to go the other way. There are some guys who are pull hitters. There are some guys who are up the middle guys. They work counts, they steal bases. Everybody's got kind of a little different way that you have to attack them. It makes them hard to game plan for. And if you remember way back when Jerry first took the job and Scott Service was his right-hand man and they had a good relationship, one of the first things the Mariners did, or one of the first things they said, is that we want to be really hard to play against. Yeah. We don't want to be an easy team to prepare for. And for the last 3 or 4 years, well, really since, they broke the drought, 23 and 24, not that hard to, they weren't stealing a ton of bags. They were going to strike out. They all seemed to have problems with the slider away, and everybody was trying to get the ball out of the ballpark, and now it's just different. So the lineup,
they had such a narrow window to fit through every single game. It was like, you need Logan or whoever's pitching to go 6 or 7 and hope that you're going to win 3-2 or 2-1.
You hope somebody hits the big home run with a guy on base instead of a solo shot, and maybe that's how you win. But now they are able to win the game in a lot of different areas. Again, they're similar in that they'll work counts and they'll draw walks. But there is a lot more diversity in the handedness and the approaches and their game plans and what they do well, that it does not make for an easy prep when you are looking at this lineup and you're trying to find, like, okay, who do we want to kind of pitch around? Who do we want to avoid? How are we going to attack this guy and this guy? There's really not one size fits all. And it also makes it tough now with Polanco able to hit against left-handed pitching. It makes it that much harder for you to kind of map out your bullpen. Do you want to have Polanco on his left side, or do you want to have Julio face a right or lefty? Like, there are these kind of dilemmas that you can be put into now, and you're starting to see the lineup get a little bit healthier. And, still no Robles, still no Rayleigh, but you got Polo playing in the field now. Randy is back, and we'll see. I'm kind of concerned he pulled something in that last at bat. It looked like he took himself out of the game, but maybe they just wanted to steal, base stealing threat, and he's just not going to steal bases right now. I don't know, but we'll see how it goes. But they're getting a little bit of everything here, and it's just gelling really well. And there's a lot of ways they can beat you.
Yeah, and that's what makes them so annoying to face right now. And again, it's because of guys like Dylan Moore and Ben Williamson and Leo Rivas, who didn't even play in this game. Another guy that we need to shout out here is Miles Mastrobuoni, who had a couple of big doubles yesterday. Right. You're getting production from pretty much everyone except for Donovan Solano right now. I know Mitch Garver had a bad game yesterday, but he's been fine. I mean, he hasn't bounced back as much as I thought he would, but he's been overall fine, especially for a backup catcher. This is what he is. He's a way too expensive backup catcher, but that's what he is at the end of the day, and that's fine. I mean, it's better production than you got out of like Sebi Zavala last year for sure. So yeah, like the really like the one black hole that you have right now is
DH.
Solano.
It's DH and first base. I mean, Tellez is basically Mike Ford, where it's like he's worthless unless he's hitting the home run.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't been a black hole though. He hasn't. That's disingenuous to say that.
He's been okay. Like
I know you don't like him because he's a meme player or whatever, but that's just disingenuous.
No, I mean, like he's been fine for the last like 3 weeks. Pretty much the Toronto series. How long ago was the Toronto series? I mean, the Toronto series, he was more than fine. But I think
it'll be 3 weeks.
About 3 weeks. Before that, he was definitely a black hole. So yeah, he's been fine. The idea that the Mariners don't or won't need to have upgrade at first base or DH because they have Rowdy Tellez, that's a joke that I'm sure we'll talk about when we get there. Yeah,
Rowdy heading into today, and I assume these numbers are going to look even better after today.
You would think so, yeah.
Since the first game of the Toronto series, he's hitting 297, 366, 595.
Yeah.
He's had some big hits. Yeah, exactly. He's had some big hits. He had the game-winning hit against the Rangers on the weekend.
Big home run today.
Yeah, so
yeah, he's up to 102.
Yeah, on the WRC Plus.
Yeah.
208,
262, 442.
Yeah, so, league average hitter, Rowdy Tellez. There we go.
You should be shooting for better, but Rowdy's fine right now. Like
but the point is, right? Like no one except for Solano right now. Maybe you can make the argument for Garver, but really, like no one outside of Solano at the moment is a easy out in this lineup.
No, Garver's been pretty good, with the exception of the last game we saw him play in. He was not good against Springs and company, but other than that, he's been pretty good for the last couple of weeks as well. Even Donovan Solano's taking more competitive at bats. He's finding a couple of hits here and there. He's driving the ball a little bit more. Again, I'm not going to tell you Donovan Solano's back or anything like that, but he's at least improving. We're seeing better quality at bats from him over the last, week to 10 days and whatever. I'm not going to tell you that the Mariners shouldn't be trying to move on or that they shouldn't make a move there. I'm just saying, I don't know if there's actually a better option there, but whatever. We'll see how it goes with him. But yeah, the Mariners, they're getting a little bit of something from just about everybody. And we're also starting to see some role players getting pushed back into roles that they're better suited for, like Miles Mastrobuoni, like Leo Rivas now that Polanco can play the field. Although we'll see what their plan is with Polanco because, DH today, he played second he played second yesterday, DH today. And so we'll see how much they wanted to play second. Doesn't sound like a return to third base is happening. Which fine. Fine. He looks fine at second base. That
Williamson's hitting enough right now that I want his defense. I want him in the lineup as much as possible because of the defense.
Yeah. I mean, again, you don't really have a better option anyways, but yeah. Williamson, league's made its adjustment. Williamson kind of surviving at the plate right now, but overall still an asset that keeps you in the positive because of the defense and because of the contact that he usually brings to the table. So yeah, Mariners lineup 1 through 9 right now, pretty tough to pitch to. And it really is a lineup that, there are no breaks. Like there are some easier outs to get than others, but if you make a mistake to any of these guys, they can make you pay. And even if you make a good pitch, they have the ability to, foul it off or whatever, maybe even put it in play and make you earn that out. Whereas in the past, you made your pitch against the Mariners, you got them out, period.
Yeah, and even with like someone like Leo Rivas, it's like you might strike me out, but I'm going to balloon that pitch count. You are going to earn it. It's going to take you 7-8 pitches to get it. All right, so yeah, I mean, it's awesome to see. It's a beautiful thing. Good. There's nothing better than good offense, and it's a rare sight to see. As a Mariners fan, for sure. All right, so we're gonna wrap things up by talking a little bit about Brian Woo's day in just a moment. But first, a reminder: this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is a reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners postgame show following the Mariners 6-5 win over the A's. We're going to wrap things up talking a little bit about Brian Woo. He gives up 5 earned runs. This is the worst outing that Woo's ever had against the A's. He has historically dominated them, but today they finally had an answer for him, and they jumped all over him. There was a moment there in the first inning where it looked like he should have had strike 3. It should have been 2 outs against Brent Rooker, and then the very next pitch, Rooker puts it into the right center field gap, makes it 3-0, and at that point you're going, uh-oh, might be in for a long day here. The A's were able to get 2 more insurance runs off of Woo a little later on in the game in the 4th inning. And then, at that point it was 5-0. And it was like, this is probably not going to go super well. And then, we know what happened. But yeah, he ends up still going 6 innings, which, like I said earlier on in the show, huge because of what it did for the bullpen. They only had to use Bizarro, Spire, and Munoz today. Whereas the A's had to go 5 deep in their bullpen. So that was great after Hancock went 6 yesterday as well. And after, all the pitches the bullpen had to throw in the first game of the series. But yeah, so in total, 5 earned runs on 8 hits, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk for Woo, and gave up the home run to Lawrence Butler. He had 5, 6, 7, 8 hard hit balls against. What did you make of his day?
Yeah. There's an alternate history here where strike 3 gets called and Woo has just a really solid day where he gives up a couple runs, and, the Mariners, I don't know, they win, they still score 6, but like, whatever, that the game goes a much different direction. But at the end of the day, you're in the big leagues, umpires are going to miss calls and you have to make better pitches than the one he made. So yes, we can blame the umpire and say that the stat line wasn't as bad, but also, Brian should have made a better pitch. And I think what was interesting about Woo today is I thought the stuff was actually pretty good. Like, I don't think the stuff was the problem. It seemed more of a command thing today, and it wasn't that he wasn't throwing strikes. I mean, he threw 66 strikes on 100 pitches. But it was just kind of that the 2-seamer had a lot of movement today. And it just kind of seemed to me like he wasn't quite able to get that on the corner. Either he'd start it just a little bit too close to the plate and would wind up back in the middle, or he would start it too much in the middle of the plate and it would still catch the corner, and everything was about belt high. So, that's a good pitch if it's down, if it's at the knees and you hit the outside corner. But even if it's belt high, or even if it's on the outside corner, if it's belt high, that's a dangerous pitch to make, particularly to this lineup in this ballpark. So I actually thought the stuff was solid today. I didn't think there was anything particularly wrong with the stuff. Velo was down barely on the fastball. On the 2-seamer, only 0.2 miles an hour. Yeah. It was right in line on the 4-seamer. So the velo wasn't terrible. The spin rates, nothing to be that concerned about or anything like that. He had a 41% whiff rate on the 4-seam fastball today, which is elite. He also had 4 whiffs on 10 swings on the sweeper. 40% there, which is
we
really
saw the
good.
sweeper quite a bit early on, and then it felt like he kind of went away from it, started throwing more fastballs as the game progressed.
Yeah, in his last outing, Wu went more kitchen sink than we were used to seeing, and it was still like 65% fastball.
And he's done this a bit against the A's specifically.
Yeah, so I know the sweeper was still really good. No hard hit balls on that on the sweeper today. He threw 19 of them, 12 of them were for strikes. So the sweeper was actually pretty good. But again, there were just times where couldn't quite put it right where he needed to get the break properly. So it just felt like Wu was just a little bit off today, and the A's took advantage of that. Good for them. Good on them. It's a pretty good offensive club right there. But yeah, I not too concerned about Wu at all. Again, this doesn't seem to be like any kind of, mechanical thing. And obviously because it's his first blow up start, it's easy to write off. But yeah, the velo was fine. The stuff I thought was really good. I just think this was a little bit, he was just a hair off on his release point or something. And it just led to a couple too many pitches being middle, like in terms of height, like they were on the outside corner, but they were still elevated. And that's a pitch that you can hit. So yeah, I thought it was mostly more about command than it was control and stuff today.
Statistically, it was his worst start of the year, but I don't think it was actually his worst start of the year. I don't think it was as bad as he was in Toronto, even though he was able to go 7 in that game in Toronto, but he wasn't able to miss bats in that game. It's just the A's were able to do a bit more damage against them than the Blue Jays were.
Yeah, Wu has in the last pretty much every start this year, he'll give you one inning where you have an opportunity to jump on him. And the Giants did that, and the A's did that today. The Rangers didn't. The Blue Jays, they were able to get one, but they weren't able to get the big inning. And typically, Wu is like a lot of these really good pitchers, is that like they'll give you one inning, and usually it's the first, but sometimes it's the third or the fourth or whatever. But usually you have one opportunity to really jump on these guys and put up multiple runs. And that's been true for Wu this year. It's just more often than not, he's kind of sidestepped that and he's limited damage. Of course, the base is loaded against the Rangers. And so today he wasn't really able to limit that damage. Again, he might have had the umpire done his job properly, but who's to say? Who knows how the next pitch would have gone? And again, you're in the big leagues. You just got to make a better pitch on the next one. But hey, quick side note on that. Congrats to all of us on surviving a series with the most incompetent crew of umpires I've ever seen in my life.
Unbelievable. There was another pitch that should have been a strike in Munoz's inning to Langeliers that changed the complexion of that bat. That at bat. Thankfully, that didn't lead to anything. Langeliers flew out the next pitch.
Munoz is on a bit of a ball don't lie run right now.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, this was a big ball don't lie series for Mooney, who still hasn't given up a run. Best reliever in the game. Earn run. Yeah. This umpire crew. I'm very interested to see the scorecard tomorrow morning, because there were quite a few pitches. I mean, the one that Wu threw that should have been strike 3 to. What upset me the most about that, the one to Rucker, was that it was right after Wu threw another pitch in the same location for a strike, and then the A's dugout complained loudly. You could hear it over the hot mics, and you could tell that was just like the umpire just giving in to their demands.
Yeah, it was a joke of an effort, and I mean, even New York failed the Mariners in this series. The umpire crew was god awful.
So apparently, I looked into that. So apparently, the laces do count.
If you're a catcher, why wouldn't you cut the laces then?
Yeah, you probably should. Maybe that's something that Cal will do now.
That's stupid, because there's a 0% chance the laces affect the swing. 0.
And also, if the laces don't count on a tag, they shouldn't count on catcher's interference. But apparently, there was an angle that they showed on the A's broadcast that did show the bat, Arias's bat, hitting the laces.
What's interesting about the laces thing too, though, is that like it's tough to tell. Like, did the laces move because it got hit by the bat, or because the glove moved,
motion,
or because the ball hitting the back of the, or whatever, right? Like it's like the laces should not. That is
so that one
stupid.
Yeah, so that one, I guess, technically by the book, but it's just a stupid rule. But still,
it's kind of like, remember when they tried to change what a catch was?
Yeah.
and then they like reversed it like 3 days later.
Well, and then also today, Tavares's first strikeout was a check swing. How was that more of how did he break the plate more than Nick Kurtz did 2 nights ago?
Just really no consistency. And I don't like that check swings aren't reviewable. It's like, oh, it's a judgment call. It's like, yeah, sometimes, but sometimes it's obvious, like it really shouldn't, whatever. Like the umpires suck at their jobs. They're really good ones. We don't know their names. And so I get it. It's a thankless position. It's a hard job. I'm not saying it's an easy job, but when you miss as many calls in this series against both teams, either way you want to slide, like they were not good for Oakland.
No.
Like they weren't giving them extra pitches more than they were the Mariners, but who cares? Like the umpires were bad. Both teams complained.
And this crew was an absolute joke. It was an absolute joke.
They were terrible. So congrats to us on surviving that. And
yeah,
hopefully they're not hopping up on a plane to come up to Seattle this weekend, because I don't think Dan and Edgar will make it through all those games.
All right. That is going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners post-game show. For Colby Patnode, I'm Ty Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at @LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Ty Gonzalez and Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. We're also on Blue Sky. You can follow me at TDG, Colby at MLB Colby, and the show at Locked On Mariners. You can also follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Mariners. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.